Brazilian police holding a news conference to say our 4 American swimmers made up their stories.
There was no robbery in the way that it was reported by the athletes. They were not the victim of the criminal facts that they described. The athletes left where they were coming from. They went to the gas station. They went to the bathroom, and on purpose, one or more than one of them, we're still investigating, began to commit acts of vandalism in the bathroom, at the gas station, breaking mirrors and other equipment. This led to a certain confusion at the gas station. Employees of the gas station tried to control this situation. The images also show the athletes going back to the cab and trying to leave the location. When the employees noticed what was happening, the security guard tried to convince the cab driver to wait for the police and to not leave the scene. Apparently, these facts have been confirmed, and there's no doubt about them. The athletes did not want to stay. They did not want to await the arrival of the police. According to the reports, they offered to pay, and they did pay 100 reais and a $20 bill to compensate the establishment for the damages. The versions of one of the athletes, he has confessed. Yes, he confessed. We confess only when a crime is committed, but he was a witness. He gave a testimony, and he corroborated the facts that I'm sharing with you.
TMZ has been on top of the story from the very beginning. Executive producer of TMZ, Harvey Levin, joins us. Harvey, nice to see you.
Good seeing you, Greta.
Harvey, what's the latest? What information do you have?
Well, we know that the police are recommending prosecution. There's a report out that they have actually been indicted, Jimmy and Ryan Lochte. They have not. There has been a recommendation, but no indictment as of yet. Now, I can tell you this. From Ryan Lochte's, from his camp and Jimmy's camp as well, what they are saying is their story was essentially true. What they are saying is that it wasn't a false police report because, A, they were in a cab, B, they were asked to get out of the cab, and C, they insist they were held at gunpoint in order to turn over money. Now, you don't see guns in the video, but if you look at that video carefully, and this is something that his team has seized upon, there is a 3-minute hole where there's an edit, and Lochte's camp says the gas station made the edit because they didn't want to show that the security guards there pulled a gun on them, and you do see the swimmers with their hands up in the air after the edit is over, where they get out of the cab, and it appears, I mean, you put your hands up in the air because somebody is ordering you to, and everybody there is saying it was because they had pulled a gun on them, and that they were ordered to give them some money over as a result. So their position is it was effectively a robbery. Ryan Lochte's problem, I think, is that the pretext for this whole thing was a lie. The pretext that they're driving along, security comes up, pretends like they're a police officer, and robs them. That is an indictment on Rio and the safety of Rio and the people of Rio. And look, Greta, you can make the argument that technically they could argue that everything in the report is true, but the prosecutors can make the different argument, and the jury and judge there, they're in Rio, and people in Rio are pissed at these swimmers for trashing the city.
All right, did they pay any money to compensate this gas station for whatever this vandalism was?
They did, and they paid him money and gave him a $100 tip to boot. Now, Lochte's position is that was essentially robbery because they paid it with a gun pointing at them. The gas station is saying, look, we wanted money because they broke our stuff and tried to leave, and we were never going to get them again, so we wanted money from them, and they essentially negotiated. But they did pay money for sure.
Were they drunk? I mean, what's with this vandalism, or was it an accident that something broke?
We are told, Greta, they were wasted. We know they were at a party earlier in the night. This was 6 in the morning. They were partying all night long. They were wasted. What we're told is that they needed to pee, and they got out at the gas station. They wanted to get inside the bathroom, and the bathroom was locked, and they started kicking the door. And then when they did damage and people at the gas station said, "Stop, you're paying for this," they basically said, "We're out of here." That's when they walked to the cab, and that's when things escalated.
All right, well, how did the police then enter into this picture? Because if they go to the cab, they got the security guard or somebody asking for the money. They say they paid the money to pay for the damage plus the extra $100. Where did the police come into this?
Well, because there was I think it's a good question. I mean, there seemed to be a standoff, but money did seem to get paid. My sense of this, and I don't think anybody is totally forthcoming. My sense of this is that at a point, there was kind of an amicable here, let's leave it alone and everybody go away. And the police weren't that interested because the people got their money. And then when the police became really interested is after Ryan Lochte came out with this thing and trashed the whole city. Greta, I should say one thing. Ryan Lochte is in the United States now. This is not an extraditable offense. So if he never goes back to Rio, he's not going to have a problem, except maybe with the Olympic Committee. Jimmy is still in Rio. This is a crime punishable by up to 6 months in jail, and he has a problem because he's still there, and my guess is he's not going to be able to leave under these circumstances. And again, the city is pissed off, the police are upset, and it's not the kind of environment, as you know, as a lawyer, it's not the kind of environment you want to be in.
Now, the 3-minute video, the surveillance video that's missing, is Ryan Lochte asking that the police go back, or is it Jimmy Fegan asking that the police go back and get the complete video so at least that we have a full story to the extent we can?
They want the full video, absolutely, because they believe the video will paint that full picture that Ryan Lochte painted. But again, the problem with that video is the pretext of we're driving along and all of a sudden the cops do this. All of a sudden these guys come up. I don't know that the pretext is necessarily going to warrant a criminal indictment. But again, legally it may or may not. But I think as a practical matter, that city is out for some revenge.
All right, well, let me put my defense lawyer hat on. I mean, look, a security guard with a gun looks like a police officer to most people, or to a lot of people. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I assume they have a language barrier. That I assume that most of the people there are speaking Portuguese, and our Americans are speaking English, and they're drunk. Am I right?
You're right on every single count. The problem is that the statement that this whole thing happened the way Ryan said. Now, here's my feeling. I think you're right. And the story that Ryan told the media, told NBC, I don't think he told the police that, because why would he tell the police that if they're at the gas station? His story would make no sense to tell the police. So I think that lie was not part of what he told the cops. So that's off the table in terms of making a false police report. So I do think you're right. Factually, you could make the argument that every step of the way, Lochte was essentially telling the truth in terms of what he told the cops. But again, they're recommending an indictment, and the people I've spoken to in Ryan's camp say it ain't surprising because he knows how angry the city of Rio is.
I guess what I'm trying to sort out is whether this is just some guy who sort of embellishes a story after he's sobered up a little bit and he's telling some Billy Bush or whoever it is at NBC and he's sort of excited, or did he actually make a false police report saying that, I mean, what's the falsehood he told the police?
Well, okay, I will again break this down. He said that to NBC, this business that they're driving home, that the people come up. I don't think he told the cops that. That was a lie. That was obviously a lie.
That's a lie. That's a lie to NBC.
So that's off the table. That's off the table. So then what we're left with is Ryan Lochte telling a story about a robbery when the reality is Ryan Lochte and his friends were there breaking property, damaging, destroying property at the gas station, and then leaving without paying. And the cops are saying, the security is saying, we used force not to get money out of him, but to keep them there until the cops came. Now, did they use force to rob them? Apparently, the cops don't think so. Apparently, the cops think they were just being held, and Lochte's making all this stuff up. That, I think, is going to form the basis of this.
Is there any, how much money was actually paid from Lochte and his colleagues to the gas station or to the manager? I mean, was it greatly in excess of what the damage was, the vandalism?
Well, they settled for a certain amount, and then Ryan threw in a $100 tip for their trouble. So they seemed to agree on what the amount was, and then Ryan threw another 100 in. That, to me, sounds like not somebody who gets robbed. You don't generally give a robber a tip, at least in my world. And, you know, that's the way it was kind of put. So I think that's the weakness here. Was Ryan Lochte and Jimmy, were they robbed of this money, or did they settle on the money and then make up the robbery claim later?
Or did the guy say, give me an extra $100 or you'll be sorry? And then, of course, but anyway, but that's not what Lochte's even saying.
Right.
Anyway, Harvey, thank you.
Good seeing you, Greta.
And viewers, now is your chance to vote at home on Twitter. Is Brazil overreacting to what happened with Ryan Lochte and his teammates? Tweet yes or no using hashtag Greta. We'll show you your live Twitter votes throughout the show. And Ryan Lochte's first statements now coming under intense scrutiny.
The guy pulled out his gun, he cocked it, put it to my forehead, and said, get down.
New questions swirling about Olympic swimmer Ryan Lochte.
Details of Ryan Lochte's story have changed.
4 American Olympians causing international outrage.
Being robbed like that is, you know, it's a very traumatic experience.
The timeline seemed to be inconsistent.
Why would he be motivated to lie about this?
The swimmers say they were too drunk to remember any of the details about the location of the crime.
The story smells.
The On the Record legal panel is here. Former homicide detective and criminal defense attorney Ted Williams and former prosecutor Katie Fang. And Ted, I'll let you do a little bit of a victory walk because last night you did say that there was something funny about it. Nonetheless, your thoughts tonight?
My thoughts is there's a great deal of confusion here as to actually what happened. But what I'm not confused about is the fact that Lochte, I believe, lied.
To Billy Bush.
Well,
to NBC.
All right, well, he lied to them. The question is, did he lie to the authorities? We're going to have to see the actual police report, I think, to make that determination. But Lochte, as far as I'm concerned, is an ugly American. He's embarrassed this country. And I hope that if these are proven this way, that they ban him from the Olympics for life. I do not believe, by the way, that Brazil is overreacting. This was an embarrassment to our country.
All right. Well, I don't know if I agree with you on all that, Ted, but let's move on for a second to Katie. Katie, your thoughts on this?
Okay, so sometimes the cover-up is worse than the crime, right? So in this specific situation, the worst-case scenario is there was criminal mischief that's maybe a misdemeanor, but I don't agree with you, Ted. I don't know how you can say conclusively that he lied. 4 drunk Americans who don't speak Portuguese, and the chief of police admitted today in the press conference that the off-duty armed security guard was a member of the Rio de Janeiro police. How do we know he didn't flash a badge when he pointed the gun at the 4 young men that were drunk? So I'm not making excuses for them. Go ahead.
Let me ask you a question. When did we hear about this gas station? This is the first time we heard about it today. And when we hear Lochte's story, he was supposed to have been so drunk that he didn't know what happened when he wound up telling inconsistent stories. And we now want to believe him?
Well, the alcohol actually would contribute to inconsistent statements. If I was a defense lawyer, I'd say, of course, you're hearing inconsistent statements. He was drunk.
Well, that may be a defense. But I still believe that this guy is an embarrassment to this country. This should have never happened. Urinating in a bathroom, tearing up the gas station.
Well, actually, that's sort of a good place to do it.
I thought so.
I was going to say, if they're going to do it somewhere, they better do it there.
Yeah, actually, I give him credit for that, no matter how drunk he was. Oh, my God. All right. Katie, is Brazil making this into an international incident beyond what it should be? I'm not excusing bad drunk behavior, but we now have an international incident that rivals the $400 million that went to Iran on the plane in the middle of the night.
For the ransom, exactly. So you're withholding Americans from returning to the United States for a non-extraditable offense. And I want that to be clear. Brazil cannot order the United States, nor will the United States turn over Ryan Lochte voluntarily to Brazil. This has become completely blown out of proportion. What's going to happen is the following. Lochte is going to pay a fine. So is Fegan. They're going to apologize, and it's going to go away. But let me make sure this is clear as well. Brazil has corruption. They can investigate this this quickly in 3 days, but they can't investigate their own corruption.
Not to go too far astray about Brazil and its corruption. Right now, its president is being tried.
I'm so sick. Okay, but I'm sick and tired of how arrogant we are as Americans. If those guys would have come over to America and done this kind of crap, we'd have locked them up and tried to throw away the key. This is just wrong.
I don't think we would have, Ted. I mean, it's like,
I don't think it would have gone that far.
Their behavior was bad, but look, these are, I got to give these guys some credit.
What credit?
No, they're medalists and everything. I'm not saying, all right, look, I mean,
maybe the tax that we pay to the government as a medalist will go to Brazil instead of going to Uncle Sam.
Acting like a juvenile and lying about it.
Well, I don't know if he's drunk. But anyway, I think this is getting blown totally out of proportion. Let him pay the damage.
Absolutely.
Apparently he has. He has bad behavior. He's going to lose some endorsements, and, that should be...
That I agree. I think that they should not be charged, and I think they should just drop it, to be candid, both sides,
sure.
Brazil and the United States.
It's interesting to look at the viewers. 56% say overreacted yes, and no is 44, which is about even, which is about 50% even. Yep. I'm surprised at that.
And dirty ugly Americans. That's what it's all about.
How do you really feel about this?
It upset me. I mean, we are Americans. We go over to a country and we embarrass our country this way. No, shouldn't happen anywhere.
Ted, Katie, thank you both.